Hey everyone. This is Drop the Mic Live Mic. I am Shannon E. Um, it is it's very early in the morning. Okay. Drop the Mic Live Mic usually comes on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a little quick story, really quick. I definitely did a Drop the Mic Live Mic last night for all of those who were looking forward to my show airing at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday. However, there we had some dilemmas with recording and things like that, and it was a total disaster. Okay, so I don't know if it was Memorial Day. I don't know if God just wanted me to have a good time and not worry about work. I really don't know what it was, but what it was is not what it is. So we're just going to move forward on today. Okay. I refuse to allow the message that I wanted to give to the public to be dispersed and to be hidden. Okay. So here we are. Here we are. It is Drop the Mic Live Mic, and I am Shannon E, aka China Black. You can find me on all social media platforms as China Black 007, as I'm Shannon E. Okay, good. So, good morning, greetings, good morning, grand rising, great day, and all of those things. It is a restart Monday, and we are going to restart on today. Today's topic of conversation on Drop the Mic Live Mic is revolving around one hand washes another. One hand feeds another. Okay. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that, Shannon? What are you talking about? What is going on? All right. Um, the topic of conversation is going to be domestic violence. All right. Being as though we have been seeing the trending topic of domestic violence, right? We have stories on top of stories on top of stories that are happening on today. It's been going on for weeks now. The Diddy and Cassie thing. There's a lot of different other people being exposed, whether they be famous or not. And it's just a lot of exploiting and exposing and things of that nature coming to light. All right. So why not? Like, I definitely do not think that that is a coincidence. I definitely think that anyone who has a platform at this time in any sort of way, whether you're creating one, whether you already have one, I think that these topics of conversations should be had. All right. This is what we do on Drop the Mic Live Mic. Okay. For all of my new followers, my old followers, they already know what's up. They already know what's good. For all of my new followers, I definitely want you guys to understand what Drop the Mic Live Mic is about. Okay. It is a safe space. It is for conversations such as this that's about to be had, to be brought to light, not necessarily to expose, but definitely to bring to light. Okay, we are all about light and progress on this platform. And there are conversations that need to be heard because you do not know who you are helping. You do not know who feels how you feel. You do not know who feels like they have no one to talk to. They have no one who understands what they're going through. They have no one who can relate or anything of that sort. So, therefore, this is what Drop the Mic Live Mic is already about. So, why not go with the trending topic? You understand what I'm saying? Right. So, domestic violence, right? Surrounding domestic violence situation. I just want to be clear that domestic violence is going on each and every day, right here, right underneath your belt, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your godparents, whoever, married couples, single people, people who are looking for love, people who are saying they never will find love, all of these type of things, your children, right? In schools, in churches, in programs, like domestic violence is going on everywhere. Okay. It is not unheard of, yet it is the most unspoken trending topic that has ever been created. There are people with big platforms, there are people with smaller platforms, there are people with nonprofits who organize these programs and who has spoken here and there on domestic violence, right? But there's no major platform or program or all the things that I just named that brings to light domestic violence on a higher scale. As popular as domestic violence is, it is on a very minute scale when it comes to being exposed, when it comes to being rectified, when it comes to finding solutions, when it comes to assisting, right? Both the abuser and the victim, right? There's not too many programs for that, or at least we don't know about it, especially in a community of Black and Hispanics where it's perceived as domestic violence is taking place more often in those communities than not. We don't know all the resources, right? We are not aided to those resources, right? We're not encouraged to these resources that are out here or things like that. I find that to be very strange. I find that to be very weird. Domestic violence is popular in a sense. Okay, so we're just gonna go into it a little bit. You know, there's a lot of questions surrounding this topic with Diddy and Cassie. There's a lot of commentary being made about both the abuser and the victim. Like, you know, and I just find it a little. I'm just a little curious. I'm a little curious. You know, I'm inquiring. I'm watching, and I'm just like, you know, I see things on different perspectives, in totality. Okay. And I think that we should all see things in totality when we decide to like look at situations and engage in situations. We need to see it in totality. Okay. Um 2024 is definitely the year of exposure. Okay. It is the year of exposure. Like everything and everyone is going to be, you know, exposed. But I also feel like it's the year of growth, right? And in order to grow, we have to expose. Like we have to acknowledge our flaws. We have to acknowledge who we are. We have to acknowledge where we're going. We have to acknowledge what we've done. We have to acknowledge 2024 is the year of acknowledgement. Okay. Everyone think that it's like, oh, baby, yeah, what you doing? The dog's gonna come out and light. Yes, it is. But the only reason why that's gonna happen is because it is the year of growth. It's the year of growth. It's the year of healing. Okay, it's the year of unity, right? I mean, we're seeing it, like we're watching it, like numbers don't lie, people, places, you know, it's like everything is aligning. Okay, so I just want to get into domestic violence and identity crisis. Okay, the topic is domestic violence and what aids domestic violence. And one or two of the things that aid domestic violence is identity crisis and abuse. Okay, keep that in mind, hold that thought as we go along with the topic. So, what is domestic violence, right? Domestic violence is like any incident of violence that causes either physical injury or the threat of physical injury, right, from a cohabitant. Physical injury or the threat of physical injury from a cohabitant. Reason why I said cohabitant and not only like a partner is because domestic violence is family oriented. Okay. It can be with strangers, obviously. Like if you fight somebody in the street or whatever case may be, and you don't know them, like that's domestic violence as well. But it is family oriented. When you are in a domestic violence situation, if you go to the law to rectify it or anything like that, they're gonna send you to family court. Okay, they're going to send you to family court. They're not going to send you to criminal court. You're not going to go to any other court, any landlord, Supreme Court, or anything like that. You're going to go to family court because they look at domestic situations to be family oriented. Okay, just to be clear. What is so bad about domestic violence? Domestic violence is okay. So there are three concrete things about domestic violence that's really bad that makes domestic violence a serious thing. Okay, psychological trauma, physical injury, or death. Psychological trauma, physical injury, or death. Those are the three things, the three concrete things that makes domestic violence a serious thing. Okay, there's only three outcomes to domestic violence, and those are the three. Okay, we're not going to get any more out of it. In my opinion, all three are horrible. But if I had to choose one, right, that prolongs the domestic violence process, meaning like passed down to your children, generational curses, generational trauma, things like that going on for years, each one teach one type of thing. If I had to choose one of them, it would be the psychological trauma. And I also want to add on that the psychological trauma will continue on the physical abuse, will continue on the deaths. Okay. Psychological trauma is something that we deal with every single day, right? It's something that we are dealing with every single day with people and things of that nature, hurt people, people who've just been traumatized on a daily basis. It has to do with your mental health. It has to do with your mental health. It is a mental illness when you are subjected to psychological trauma. You are dealing with a mental illness at that point, okay? And rectifying a mental illness is extremely hard. It is one of those things that you can obtain easily and cannot get rid of easily. Okay. It's like getting in trouble and hard to get out of it. That's what psychological trauma is. And that's why, in my opinion, I feel like that is the most detrimental part to domestic violence. What are some things that lead up to domestic violence? Like, I just want to talk about some things that lead up to domestic violence, because like even in the commentaries where people are like, the questions that they have, the things that they don't really understand, like, why is this person doing this? This person didn't see this flag, this person didn't see that flag, like they just supposed to know. Like people are just supposed to know, right? For a person who's never been through domestic violence, we may have all those questions, right? Because we've never been through it. So domestic violence is really one of those things that you literally have to go through to understand exactly what is happening, right? And even some people that are in the domestic violence situations, most times do not even understand what is happening. So imagine you never going through it, trying to understand the person that went through it, trying to understand the dynamic and trying to understand why. Most people that are in it don't even know that they're in it, right? Most people that are in it don't even know why they're in it, how they got in it, right? They have all these questions too, and they're the ones in it. Okay. And this is going for both the abuser and the victim. Okay. Before we get into that, I want to explain some of the forms of abuse that domestic violence individuals, victims, and abusers, but victims go through, right? Most, and reason why I keep saying abusers as well is because a lot of abusers were victims. Okay. And because they became abusers, it doesn't negate the fact that they are victims still. Like they're still victims. They're still victims in their own self and in their own space, right? That's why they're now going out to victimize other people or whatever the case may be, because they have not gained their power back. They've been fighting for their power their entire life because they were victimized. Somewhere down the line, they were victimized. People don't just wake up one day and want to be mean to people and want to treat people bad and want to do wrong. You don't just wake up like that, right? That is a psychological trauma that you've been through. Something happened, okay? And it turned that cord. And you were a victim. You had no power and you had no control at one point. You gained the power, and instead of doing the right thing with the power, you decided to do the wrong thing with the power. Right? And it's not that it's okay. And it's not that it's okay that this is happening. But this is what it is. Like, I just want to let you guys know, like, this is what it is. So let me go into a few things surrounding abuse. We have emotional abuse, we have sexual abuse, we have financial abuse, and we have physical abuse. A lot of people think that when it comes to being in an abusive relationship, that is just physical, right? Because those are the scars that we see, those are the marks that we see, those are the scars that we see, those are all the things that we can actually see, right? So we think that it's just physical, but there's way more. Okay, let's start off with what emotional abuse looks like and what it does and what it is. Okay, because I really feel that that's the most important one. Okay, because emotional abuse is a behavior, right, that we don't see. It is a non-physical behavior, okay, that controls you, it isolates you, and it traumatizes you. Emotional behavior is very tricky. Okay, emotional abuse, excuse me, is very tricky. Okay, it is something that a victim won't see, right? Like you feel like it's not right, like you know something's not right in your bones, like you it's something's not right, like something's not right in your bones, you can feel it, right? There's a flag. um but because you can't detect it because it's from someone you love, right? It's someone who cares for you, you thought it's someone you care for, it's someone that may be going through something. They may have lost their job, they may been dealing with the children all day, they've been, just like in a space where like something changed, they're not happy at this point, and you are attempting to be understanding, right? So you're not seeing it as like emotional abuse when they're lashing out or whatever, when they're saying mean things to you, when they are just being a little different with their voice, with the tone of their voice, or the things that are actually coming out of their mouth. You're like, all right, right? But you know that they're not being who they were to you at one point. Like they're making you feel very uncomfortable, but you just can't pinpoint it, right? Emotional abuse. I'm gonna give you an example, if in case you guys don't really know like what that looks like or what that really feels like, right? So a lot of women out there, they're like really not as sensitive, right? They're like they hard or whatever, and they can go back and forth with somebody verbally, right? A lot of people know how to do verbal sparring or whatever the case may be. I'm not a verbal sparrer. I'm not a verbal sparrer. I can be, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? And for the most part, like I'm pretty sensitive. Like, don't talk to me a certain way, this, that, and the third. Okay. My point is, when you feel uncomfortable with what someone said to you to the point where you gotta be like, who is talking to? And y'all not playing, right? Because we all know we play like that here and there. We do a little verbal sparring. It's kind of like flirtatious, but then somebody might say a little something out of pocket. And you be like, who are you talking to? We laugh it off or whatever case may be. But if we're in a serious conversation, we're in a serious argument, and you done said some crazy shit, we all know what the crazy shit be. You done said some stuff that is like, well, hold on. Who are you talking to? And it's like, I'm fucking talking to you. Hold on, back. That's a flag. Your alerts start going off. Emotional abuse is given. Okay. I just want to give you guys like a little example. You don't have to use that example, but that's what it kind of looks like. That's what the blueprint of that would look like, right? So a lot of people go through that, but a lot of people are doing this all day long. Like this is what they do. This is the dynamic of their relationship. They started their relationship off like this. This is how they talk to each other and all of that kind of stuff. So when you get in depth with emotional abuse and what it is, you're a little conflicted on if it's actually abuse. And when it got out of hand, by the time it get out of hand, it's out of hand. Okay. That's one. Sexual abuse. A lot of, once again, it's the confusion, it's the confliction. Okay, this is my man, this is my girl. Like, me saying no and them saying yes and them taking, even though we're saying no. Is this sexual abuse? Or is this just my obligation to my relationships with my man? Like my obligation to my woman, because this is my woman. Whenever she wants my body, I have to give it. Whenever he wants my body, I have to give it. Is this considered sexual abuse? It looks weird. It's hard to dissect. It's hard to, you know, it's like a borderline. So when we're commenting and when we're asking these questions, and it's like, oh, but we have to understand that it's a thin line, like between love and hate. Like for real, it's a thin line between love and hate. Like we don't really always know, right? We don't always know like the difference or whatever the case is. And I'm gonna get into why. Not only is it because we're in a relationship and we're in love and things like that, because love is just like the basis of it. Like love is just like, love is what got us there, right? But then when we start going through all the stuff, or whatever case may be, it's not so much that we just love this person, that we are dealing with these things. If you're unaware of what is really happening, if you're not in tune and knowing the difference, right? And setting the boundaries from prior to even getting with this person to be able to know the difference, it is going to be really, really hard. In addition to that, not being developed. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. Financial abuse. Okay. There is a such thing as financial abuse. When your partner wants to keep you stagnant, when your partner wants to keep you in a certain space, in a certain light, in a certain area, in a certain vibe, or whatever the case may be, to stroke their ego, right? Maybe they're not doing what you're doing. Maybe they are jealous of what you're doing. Maybe they don't feel they can do what you can do. Maybe they just want you all to themselves, or things like that. That is financial abuse. They are taking you away from being the most productive person. They are taking you away from being able to make the millions and the billions that you want to make, right? They are taking you away from your financial gain. Okay. Another example, if there is, and I see this a lot with women to men, okay, because y'all not exempt either. Y'all be out here abusing men. This example that I have for you guys, a man, he's productive, he's a protector, he's a provider, he comes home with a check, whatever the case may be, gives his woman a check, pays the bills, this, that, and a third. I just need, babe, this, that, and that. Because she's the one in control, because he trusts her so much with this money, because he trusts her so much to do what it is that she needs to do for the children in the house and financially after he gets the check. She doesn't give that man anything. She's not being productive with that money. She's not doing what she's supposed to do in the household. She feels entitled that this is what I need to be done, and this is what it is. You don't need anything. Your job is to protect and to provide. You don't need anything. That is another form of financial abuse. Okay. Physical abuse. We all know what that looks like, right? Hitting, slapping, shoving, grabbing, punching, pinching, pulling hair, and all of those kind of things. Physical abuse is, like I said, it's what we see, right? It's just a dynamic of what we see right in our face, right then and there. A lot of people, I think, resort to physical abuse when all else fails. It's like the abuse that is stamped, right? It's the abuse that breaks you down. It's the abuse that is like, because it's internal and it's external. Okay, so we talked about the behaviors, the abusive behaviors that you can't see. It's internal and it's external, the physical abuse. Okay, so now you have been hurt inside because you cannot believe that your partner did this shit to you. And now you also have the nerve to be having it on the outside of me. I gotta go around people like this. Okay. It is an embarrassment, and it isn't like a stain. You know what I'm saying? to say that I allowed you to beat me. That messes with your psyche. Being physically abused, being physically hurt messes with your psyche. Okay. Even if you're not a victim, right, of abuse, like just imagine like a person falling down a flight of stairs. I think that was too drastic. Imagine when a person trips, right? They trip and they fall. The fall wasn't what made them cry. Okay. You ever seen a person like fall or whatever, and then they like look around? A child, for example, they look around to see who's looking or whatever the case may be, or it's like they fall in front of a crowd of people. They be like, "Oh my god!" Like, damn, it wasn't the fall that hurt them so much. It was the crowd that saw them fall. It was the reactions from the people that saw them fall. It was the embarrassment. Okay, and it's the same with abuse. So when an abuser is hitting a victim, that is because a lot of the times all else either has failed, right? Or they want them to feel everything else. Like they're trying to obtain every other form of abuse by actually physically abusing someone. Because that is going to create every other form. It's going to create an emotional abuse. It's going to create a financial abuse, possibly. And it's going to create a sexual abuse. Okay, I have you fully under my control. You're going to do whatever I want you to do. You walking around with a black eye, you walking around embarrassed, especially if your woman beating you. Like, you're embarrassed. As a man, you're embarrassed. You understand what I'm saying? You're embarrassed. I let this female abuse me. This is my wife. I love her. You know, all of those things. Like, I'm trying not to hit her. I'm trying to stay around for the kids. I want my kids to see that I don't abuse their mom or whatever the case may be, but she's taking full advantage. That's embarrassing. Okay, that breaks you down, that breaks your self-esteem, that gives you anxiety. It just does a lot. It does a lot, right? So those are the different forms of abuse. Okay, and I wanted you guys to recognize these things because they're hidden gems. A lot of them are hidden gems. We don't understand. We just are surface based, with surface level, because a lot of us haven't been in domestic violence situations, right? Thank God for that. Shout out to y'all. Okay. We talked about abuse. We're talking about abuse, right? Earlier in the conversation, I mentioned that there is another part that leads up to domestic violence. Okay. The first part is abuse. The second part is identity crisis. When I keep elaborating on the fact that if you have not been in a domestic violence situation, you are not going to understand literally, is because of the identity crisis. A lot of individuals out here are dealing with identity crisis prior to abusive relationships. Okay? We are unaware of who we are. We are unaware of what we bring to the table. We are unaware of who we serve. Amen. We are unaware of who we serve. We are unaware of our purpose, right? We are conflicted and confused. We are dealing with identity crisis. This is an entity in the culture. This is an entity in the Black and Hispanic community that we also do not discuss. Okay? And it falls under the title of domestic violence. We are unaware of our worth. I know a lot of people go around being like, "Oh, I know my worth. I know my worth. I know my worth." But knowing your worth is way more than us just, "I know my worth. I know my worth. I know my worth." Knowing your worth is way more. A lot of people do not know their worth. And it's okay. Because when you are an 18-year-old girl, when you are an 18-year-old boy, you have not even came into yourself yet. Okay, you have not developed, okay, in your mind, your body, or your soul. You have not experienced life. You have not even began to experience life. You are undeveloped. You are undeveloped. And anything and anyone who is undeveloped will not be able to defend themselves, will not be able to know what their purpose is, will not be able to see the light, will not be able to decipher and have discernment, will not be able to understand, will not be able to serve, will not be able to, they bring what they bring in the space that they're in. Okay, I'm not downplaying that they have no knowledge of anything, but they are just beginning. They're in the beginning stages. They're like a toddler. They're like a little baby, right? They're figuring it out. They're all over the place. They're engaging in everything. They are, just like, whoo, like they're happy-go-lucky people that are just doing whatever and figuring it out as they go, right? So if you are undeveloped, you don't have no knowledge of any of these things. Okay? You have an identity crisis. And I'm going to tell you what it means so we could get more acclimated with how does a youngin have an identity crisis. A period of uncertainty and confusion in a person's life. That's all an identity crisis is. A period of uncertainty and confusion in a person's life. That is the definition of identity crisis. You do not have to be 50 years old to have an identity crisis. You could be 50 years old, probably having like a midlife crisis, but you do not have to be 50 years old to have an identity crisis. Our youngins, right, from the age of teenage years up into whatever age where we into the midlife, can have identity crisis. Anytime you are confused and conflicted at a certain point of your life, that's what it is. Identity crisis drag on for years if you allow it. If you are an undeveloped person and who was abused, okay, manipulated, okay, scorned, embarrassed, right? So engaged in substance abuse, something that can like trigger your mental, to be unstable or mental illness. Those things contribute to longevity identity crisis. But for the most part, you can just have that. That's my point. In the beginning stages of your life. So imagine you coming into an abuser who is victimizing you, and you are going through a stage of confusion and confliction. This happens all the time when a person's sense of identity becomes insecure and unstable, or when there's a personal change in life. Okay? The Cassie and Diddy situation, this girl was 18 years old. Like, she was 18 years old when she met him. She was 18 years old when she met him. A lot of women and men are really, really young when they're going through abuse. Like, they really are. They really are. They're really young. And that's another thing that we need to remember. Like, we're so quick to like judge or whatever the case may be. And that's fine. Like, everyone judges everything. I don't think that there's really much wrong with judging. Definitely we should leave that to God though. But if we are gonna judge for the better, we need to be judging for the better. Okay. We're just human. We're just a boy. We're just a girl. We're just trying to figure things out ourselves. I get it. But we need to be in a positive light with those things. Okay. So, what are some signs of a person having an identity crisis? Let's just get into that real quick. Low self-esteem, questioning the value of your worth, what I just mentioned, feeling lost and aimless, you know what I mean? Emotionally scattered, increased feelings of insecurity, not understanding your values, you know what I mean? Like questioning your value or your worth, feeling lost, all of those things is a sign of an identity crisis. I know that you guys have friends, you guys have families who you can actually see this in. This is why I'm like breaking it down. And this is, once again, something that we do not realize is happening right around us. Damn, why is she acting like that? Damn, what's she going through? They must be going through something. We love to be like, oh, they must be going through something. They going through something. Of course they going through something. They going through a lot. And it might just be an identity crisis. You know how much I just said goes leads up to having an identity crisis? Absolutely. I want to be clear. And an identity crisis is not normal. Okay? That is not life. We love to say that life is just life, and baby, life going life, but life, everything ain't life. Okay, there's a lot of things that's us. We have a lot of work to do in our life. We have a lot of work. We were not just placed on earth just to be here. Like we wasn't placed here just to be here. Like we were placed here because we have a lot of life to work on. We got to work. We got to put in this work. Okay. And I ain't talking about the work we get paid for. Our biggest investment is ourselves. We will go through an identity crisis. Okay. But it is not to carry it on for generations. At some point, we all will feel conflicted and confused. But we need to understand that. We need to get a hold of that. We need to understand that. And the fact that we don't know, right? We haven't normalized identity crisis to where we can pay attention to it, to where we can intentionally resolve it. We're going to continue this cycle. And that's one of the leading factors to domestic violence in every community. Every community. Identity crisis can and will always lead into domestic violence. The act of not knowing who you are and not understanding who you are will allow you to allow all things and anything. I just want to repeat that. The act of not knowing who you are and the act of not understanding who you are will allow you to allow all things and everything. You are a light. You are light and you are progress. Okay? When you are light, okay, you are going to attract all things and everything. Okay? If you do not know who you are, if you do not understand who you are going to suffer for that. There are going to be people who are going to people. There are going to be people who has gone through things you have not gone through. Okay, they live a different life. Okay, a lot of people are okay with the life that they live. A lot of people did not choose the life that they live. A lot of people choose not to change the fact that they did not choose the life that they live, right? They come along knowing that you do not know who you are, knowing that you do not understand who you are. They're very intelligent, right? Life has life for them, and they have taken it to their advantage to understand or feel like they need to be on top. So I say that to say they know that you are vulnerable. They know that you do not understand who you are yet. They know that they have an advantage over you. They know that you did not live the hard lifestyle that they did. They know that you were not exposed to certain things that they were exposed to, which gives you less of knowledge and less of education of either street knowledge, emotional knowledge, all of the things that we just named. They know that you have not entered into that realm, right? So you know nothing about it. Hence why you're going to have a certain innocence to you and you're going to carry it a certain way, and you're just not going to you're just not going to be knowledgeable of these things. You're not going to be aware. They know that. And you're going to attract all things and everything in the most vulnerable times of your life. If you are spiritual, if you are godly, the devil knows that you are vulnerable and that you do not understand what is going on, and that you are going to allow, and you are going to allow, and you are going to allow, and you are going to allow, right? Until you no longer allow. Going back to the commentary and the details and the specifics of the Cassie and Diddy situation, there was a lot of commentary and there was a lot of people speaking on this situation, right? And all I was saying to myself as I'm reading the comments and I'm reading through everything that everybody is saying, and I'm just like, okay, if you're gonna like go into this story, right? Forget the fact that we don't know these people. Forget all of that. We don't know these people. Why do you care? Da-da-da. It's not even, I mean, it's about that, but it's not even about that, right? They're public figures, period. Entertainment, news, whatever. We watch the news. We watch the news for the weather. We watch the news for everything else. They're just a part of that. They're just a part of the algorithm. So we're entertained. It is what it is. Now, when we get into the story with them, right? Because domestic violence is the real thing, as I've been mentioning the whole conversation. So we can relate. Like, we can relate. It don't matter who's going on with it. Doesn't matter what's going on with it. We can relate. So now we have commentary, right? But as I'm reading the commentary, I'm just like, okay, I ask that if you're going to comment, and I ask that if you're going to engage in totality, right? So one of the things that keeps popping up is, why do people stay? Like, why did she stay? Like, why didn't she leave after the first time? Like, she ain't peeped that it was this, and she ain't peeped that it was that, or whatever. Like, why did this girl stay with him? The only thing I could think of in my head, right, is that Cassie was 18 years old when she got with this man. I don't know their age difference or whatever, but I know that he was a lot older than her. Okay. We don't know what kind of family this girl came from. We don't know what type of mental instabilities she had prior to him. We don't know what if she was physically abused, financially abused, or anything like that, right? We don't know why her dependency on him was based on no boundaries, right? We don't know, if her fear of leaving was greater than her fear of staying, right? I do want to be clear in my research and in my education in regards to domestic violence that the number one factor where people do not leave abusive relationships is that their fear of leaving is greater than their fear of staying. Okay. And it does not have to be physical abuse. It does not have to be something that we can see. It definitely can be emotional. It definitely can be financial. Knowing what I know, those are the two leading factors. And in all honesty, it's for a man and a woman. If you are a man and you are fearful of leaving because of your children, if you are a man and you are fearful because that mother is unstable, right? If you are a man and you are fearful of leaving because of financial reasons, okay, that is a real thing. Anytime you have fear, it's a real thing. Okay, fear shuts you down. Fear stops people, places, and things. And like I said, the numbers don't lie. There are too many people out here talking about they just rather stay in their comfort zone. I don't get out of my lane. I stay in my lane. I'm good on that. I'm this, that, and third, or whatever the case may be. That is fear. That's fear. That is fear. And it's not normal. That is fear. We were not brought here to be fearful. We should be fearless. You understand what I'm saying? That's fear. But we all have it. We all have it. We all have it. So it's a real thing. A lot of victims are scared to leave because the fear of leaving is greater than the fear of staying. If I stay, I know what's going to happen. Like, that's another thing people say. I'd rather deal with the devil that I know than deal with the devil that I don't, you know, and to a certain extent, that's real for them. Is it real life? Absolutely not, but it's real for them. Okay. They know what they're getting themselves into. They know what can happen, even if it's the most horrible thing. They already been through it. They already know, you know, it's a sense of comfort. It's a sense of abusive comfort. If I leave with nothing and I never had nothing, but I've already adapted to this lifestyle and I already adapted to how I got to move and what I got to do to get what I want, right? Everybody in this point is being manipulative. Everybody in this point is feeling like I got to get what I want out of this. If I leave, what do I do? I've been dealing with this for so long. My mind is all messed up. Where do I go? Who do I start with? What do I do? Let alone someone who's in power. Got full control over, you know, your friends, your family, your this, your that. You have no family. I know everything about you. I know every place you will hide. I know every place you can go. I will stop all your bank accounts. I will stop this person from stopping that person from allowing you to do this, do that, da, da, da. If you have a career path for entrepreneurship, you know what I'm saying? You have certain ties in the industry, things like that, or whatever case may be. Your abuser could shut everything down. What do you mean? So the question is, okay, why would she stay? If you're looking at the situation in totality, as we should, the question should be, why wouldn't she stay? Why wouldn't she stay? I'm not saying that she should have stayed, but we have to meet people where they're at. Okay, we have to meet people where they're at. When we are judging and we are commenting and when we have commentary, we got to think about the whole situation. We got to think about the whole entire situation. If we're looking for it to make sense. Now, if you're looking to just talk shit, then you're looking to just talk shit. But if you're looking for a situation to actually make sense, their situation to make sense to you, not your situation to make sense to you. If you're looking for their situation to make sense to you, you have to look at the situation in totality. Why wouldn't she leave? This girl had nothing. This girl was mentally abused. This girl ended up with a man who was mentally abusing her. Something was off prior to her even getting with this man. The people that leave relationships after being abused the first time, right? They know who they are. They know their worth. They know their purpose. They know what it entails to be them. They know they don't have to deal with the shit. They're self-sufficient. They probably are financially good. Their family is probably stable. They probably came from a great home, a great background. Their mental health is intact and they are good. Okay. They just ended up in a situation that was unfortunate and they learned the first time, I'm not dealing with this. But for those who stay, for those who continue the pattern, for those who continue to feel they have to deal, rationalize the situation, okay, they're dealing with a lot more than we think. Beautiful girl, mind somewhere else. Handsome dude, mind somewhere else. A lot of victims, domestic violence victims, deal with denial, guilt or shame, fear of retribution, hope for a better future, You know what I mean? That's a big thing right there. You know, you love somebody, you want to feel like, damn, like they're gonna change. Like, you know, I'm gonna rock with them with this. I'm gonna stay with them through the thick and thin. You know, they're just going through a hard time right now. Like, you know, he lost his job. Like I said, she's dealing with the children all day. She's, you know, in a space where she's not good. Like, but that's my woman. Like, you know, I've seen her in better spaces. I've seen my man in better spaces. I've seen him be happy. I've seen what he could do for me when he's at his best. You know what I'm saying? I've seen like what it is, you know. When we're good, we're great. You know, I've been in situations where when we're good, we're great. You know what I'm saying? But then when it's bad, it's bad. You know what I'm saying? This happens. And a lot of the times when it gets out of hand and when it gets out of control, we don't really know the difference. If you are not developed, I'm going to keep using that word. That is the word for the night, develop. When we are not developed in our mind, our body, and our souls, it is very hard for us to use discernment. Okay? We want to protect our children. Just said that. Lack of resources. Where are the platforms for domestic violence? Where are the platforms? Where? Where are all the programs? Because there's a lot of programs out here. I know, I'm aware of it, you know, but a lot of domestic violence victims and abusers, they're not aware and they don't look into it. You know, where's the motivation? Reason why I keep mentioning the platforms is because this is what we into in 2024. This is what we've been into for a while now. The platforms are not necessarily to do the physical work, right? The community is, and the nonprofits and things like that who are already out here, but the platforms are to aid and to motivate and to encourage the people to go to those programs, to seek out those programs, to seek out the research, to seek out, you know, the education and the things that we need. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to stay with your partner or not. Okay, where we at? Religious obligations. That's a big one. That is a major one. There are so many women out here who are married, right? The whole verse of through thick and through thin, we ought to stay together. Let me tell you something. Marriage is not a death sentence. Okay? It's not a death sentence. We didn't put in those vows that I'm going to die by the hands of you. Putting those in the vows that, you know, we gonna ride or die. We doing this together. So like, if I die, you dying too. Like, if I'm living, we living. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm not about to die from the hands of you. You're not about to kill me. However, religious obligations is a real freaking thing in domestic violence situations. It's real. Real. And I'm just here to tell you, it's not a death sentence. Okay? Someone who loves you is not going to kill you. How can you live without me? How you living without me? What can we do to help those in need? I just want to lighten up the situation a little bit. We talked about a lot. Um, what can we do to help those who are dealing with domestic violence and identity crisis? A lot of what we discussed is happening right on a smaller scale and a larger scale. So that just goes to show us right there that we're all the same. It doesn't matter if you have money. It doesn't matter what situation you in life at all. We are all the same. We are all dealing with the same problems at some point or another. We are all dealing with the same emotions. We are all dealing with the same identity crisis at some point or another. We are no different from one another. So how do we help each other? How do we help each other? Okay. If you have a friend or someone who is going through domestic violence, if you have someone who is being emotionally abused, sexually abused, financially abused, or anything of the nature, right? If you just have someone in your life that you can actually see that they're going through something and it looks like all the things that we mentioned as an identity crisis, I do encourage you to, you know, motivate them to explore you know, their beliefs, right? And their goals, their interests, and things that they do talk about that are positive. You don't want to get into their business too much. I get it. You don't want to feel like, oh, they're not going to leave their spouse anyway. They're not going to do what I say, whatever the case may be. A lot of times people don't need you to really do what they say. A lot of the time, I think I said it wrong. A lot of the times people don't need you to tell them what they need to do because they do already know. Like, they already know what they need to do. They're not stupid. Like, the thought crosses their head. Okay. When you are being abused, you are trying in your head, like, you are making up imaginary situations about how to get the fuck up out of this situation. Right. It's just something that is just holding you back. All the reasons that we mentioned today, excuse me, is just holding you back. Okay. However, there are a lot of highlights that come to your mind as well. There are a lot of highlights that are like, I want to be a writer. I always want to do this, or I always want to do that. And as a friend and as a family member, you encourage that. You encourage that. You support them. You show them as much as possible how you believe in them. Even if they be like, you know what, I'm gonna leave. I gotta leave this person. I gotta leave or whatever. I'm gonna bounce this and a third, or I'm coming up with a plan to leave or whatever the case may be. You encourage that. Yeah. Remind them of their goals, remind them of their dreams, remind them of who they are, like what you see in them. Like, sometimes we need to be reminded, and we always need to be surrounded by people who's going to remind us of who we are, because we can forget. And the moment someone around you can see that you forgot, they're going to treat you like you're a nobody. It's not always easy to be in a situation of insecurity, confusion, and confliction, and to be able to boost yourself up and remind yourself of who you are. So the people that can see that, right? You can see your family and friends suffering. You need to be doing that for them. And you need to be doing that for them as much as possible. Okay? I also need you guys to accept their feelings, understand their struggle. Like, you don't understand in totality, but you know what? I'm going to take that back. You don't have to really understand. You don't really have to understand. It's not for you to understand because you're not going to understand, right? So don't get caught up in that. Like, don't get caught up in the understanding part. You do need to acknowledge their feelings, though. No feeling is wrong. And even though a lot of people seemingly sabotage themselves, put themselves in predicaments, right? It is very easy to get into something and very hard to get out of it, especially if it's a psychological thing. Your brain could easily go somewhere and not come back. Or now you have to do the work and you have to do the healing for your brain to come back. If you do not have the capacity, if you do not have God, if you do not have light, you do not have the strength to get back. Acknowledging someone's feelings gives them a safe space. It gives them comfort and it gives them hope. This person believes in me. No matter what I go through, this person right here, I know I could call and they understand. It gives them a sense like understanding, like they understand. Because you like, yeah, like I feel you, well, if you feel like that, babe, do this or whatever. And if you feel like this, that's okay to feel like that. You make it okay for them to feel how they feel because ain't no feeling wrong. And it helps a lot. It helps. Okay. So I want to thank y'all for listening. I'm Shannon E. This is Drop the Mic Live Mic. It is Monday, Restart Monday, and I want you guys to get restarted on your day. The devil is a lie. They tried to interrupt services last night on Sundays, Drop the Mic Live Mic, but guess what? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Have a blessed day.